XC gives his deep thoughts on the cost of living crisis.
You're not poor. You're balling the out. If you're making 120K, you're not poor. You're balling the out. Not in California. Hey, dude, well, not in Chicago. Hey, man, not in New York. Move! Move! Get a new place! Stop living in shitty places! I'd like to figure out.
That's an insane take. I make only 900K in California and that barely covers my expenses. Had to get my Lambo's windshield replaced, made a dent. No one will get mad at XQC for this take, by the way, except for like Twitter leftists and shit. Because like literally, if you come across like out of touch as a rich guy, but from a right-wing point of view, no one gives a fuck. People will still glaze you up and say, yeah, no, I feel that way too. Just straight up. And I don't want people to get mad at him anyway, but like, XQ moves every month, so he thinks it's all right. Yeah, yeah, this motherfucker thinks everyone has the capacity to move like he does, bro. How do they make money if they move, lol? 120K is plenty to live in Cali. Just admit you can't manage your money properly. $120,000 is livable wages in probably every city, by the way. That is true. Like, that's not even a joke. Unless you have like a whole family. Maybe not like Silicon Valley, but or DC. Here, I was making shit work with like 65K. Okay, I was making shit work with like 65K in LA, you know, fucking however, 5-6 years ago now. However, I was not comfortable. Okay, like I was not like, oh man, I can have like amenities. You know what I mean? Like that's before tax, 65K before tax. Like I wasn't like thinking, oh my God, how am I going to budget out my fucking manager's special chicken like I had to when I was making 35K. And you know, when you're making 65K and you got a bunch of fucking, you got a couple other people living with you, you can, you know, when you share your living space in Los Angeles, you can make it work. Depending on what your goals are, depending on what you want. But like 120K in Los Angeles for one person, you're doing all right. You're definitely no longer, in my opinion, you're definitely no longer fearful of survival in the same way. You might not be able to like put aside a lot of money for your future, but you certainly can, you know, you can pay your rent, you can, you know, go out on the weekends, stuff like that. I'm not speaking about San Francisco because I'm not entirely certain about the San Francisco housing market. From what I understand, it's really bad. I've lived off of 20K. Bitch, me too. But like that is unimaginably no money. Okay, that's nothing. Listen, I'm telling you, no. That is like not the expectation. As someone who made $21,000 his first year of working at the Young Turks in California, if I didn't have my living squared away by a second job that I got, that would be impossible to survive. I would die. It's unlivable. That's not living at that point. You're surviving, and barely. And anyone that fucking says that that's not the case in Los Angeles is lying to you. As someone who lived it, I'm telling you right now, I had to get another fucking job, and that job covered my living expenses, and it was still incredibly hard. So yeah, when you're making 20 grand a year in Los Angeles, you're not living, you're barely surviving. Once I got to 35K, I was again like, then I was living, but then I also had, I moved into a different apartment with a roommate. And in that circumstance, it was like still not very manageable, not manageable at all. Only when I got up to like around the 60s, when I got to like 65, that's when I got to 65, that's when I was like still worried about finances, obviously, but not to the same degree. You know what I mean? I started having to worry less about shit. But, you know, after that, it's over. I make 20K a year and make it work, laughs and finish. Bitch, are you kidding me? Never compare American cost of living to like other countries with social safety nets. People in the UK be like, what you mean, lad? 20K, 20 quid? It's a good deal. Lots of proper blokes get fucking that kind of money and live on it. We have council housing. We've got healthcare covered for. It's like, we don't have any of that shit, you know? Like, you can't. Your fucking healthcare is tied to your job and shit. Don't do it. No, I moved from Finnish to the UK because, you know, in countries where there are better social safety nets, yes, you can survive and live actually comfortably with way, way lower wages. Anyway, it just sucks. It sucks everywhere. But 120K, I would say, for, a couple years ago, I think 120K in Los Angeles, you're fine. You're definitely good. You're in a good position. I don't know what the rental market looks like now because I'm a homeowner, sick flex. But I would assume it's harder to live off of, but it's still like you're fine. There's no way. Can't speak for DC, can't speak for San Francisco. Can kind of speak for New York. I think 120K is good. People who moved from San Francisco to a small city after the pandemic hit, had it made. Yeah. I don't get it. Is it the renting price that makes it so expensive? Yes. What do you mean? Renting is awful. Landlords are fucking unhinged, man. They're genuinely, truly a burden to society. Yes. Renting fucks you 100%. Probably the worst part of existing in the United States of America, other than not having health care. Bro, think about it. In order to work, okay, and be a productive member of society, one of the main things you need is a roof over your head. And that thing, which in a normal planet would be offered to you, right, by the government at no fucking cost whatsoever. I'm saying in beautiful utopian society, right? That thing takes up like half of your fucking salary. The fuck? That's insane, dog. That is literally I think about that and it blows my fucking mind, and it shocks me that more people aren't yeah, that's really fucked up that we're just literally dumping half of your fucking salary directly into just surviving so you can go and make money for someone else. Nuts. I'm the main breadwinner for my landlord's family. Exactly, dude. Talk about housing first programs. Not a lot of people talk about that. Yeah, I have talked. Yeah, well, not me. I talk about it all the time. You are making money for someone else, okay, at your place of work. You're making money for your bosses. They give you a smaller percentage of that back to you, whatever they've decided you are worth, okay? They give that to you so you can make money for your landlord's family. How the fuck does this make sense? Also, you can have a roof over your head so you don't fucking die, and then you can go back to work and make money for someone else, and then they take a small percentage of that and give it back to you. So you can go again and fucking feed your landlord. That shit sucks. Meanwhile, no country has free healthcare if it's paid through taxes. Dude, I love you, man. You're fucking brilliant, dude. Anytime someone says this, it just reminds me of the dumbest guy trying to sound smart by just pointing to something that is so obvious that everyone understands. No one thinks when I say free healthcare, that means that it magically is just, we're enslaving doctors at gunpoint to do healthcare. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's of course it's paid through taxes, bro. What do you think? This is fucking magic? You think, what the fuck? How is it different to here? Wait, what? Well, chatter, I guess if it's no different to what's going on here, we should just switch over to the other one, right? Yeah, this is a kid, I think. I'm not going to yell at him. When you're driving down the road, or when your house is on fire and the fire department comes over and saves you from your fire department, do you think oh, that's free, or that's paid for by taxes? Or when you're driving down a road that someone else paved, do you think my tax dollars paid for it? If you understand these pretty basic concepts, you can understand that healthcare could operate in the exact same way. I'd rather not pay for anything if I don't have to, in my opinion. Yeah, well, luckily, at least with respect to fire departments and shit, people have decided that that's too dumb. That's a really dumb concept. I don't believe that you are an adult, for the record. I think you're lying. I hope you're not an adult. Oh my God. You are definitely. I'm not old, if that's what you mean. No. You're okay. We got it. No. This is like when you have two kids in a trench coat trying to fucking sneak into the movie theater to watch a rated R movie. You know what I mean? He's like, no, I'm not old, but I'm not a child. I'm an adult, actually. Do you understand the concept of roads? How roads are paid for? Because your dad, I don't think you're an earner. I'm going to keep it $150 with you. I don't think you're an earner, but your dad goes to work and makes money, okay? And then some of that money some of his wages are already taken off. Like a chunk of the wages are taken out of his salary in the form of taxes. And then on top of that, he pays more taxes at the end of the year, depending on what tax bracket he's in. And that money goes to the government, which then the government turns around and either gives it back to the states or uses at the federal level and builds a bunch of shit like roads, fixes the infrastructure. Unfortunately, for most people living in America, a big chunk of that, especially your local municipalities, are using a lot of that to fund the police, unfortunately, and not necessarily enough on like social safety nets and stuff. I'm not bullying him, man. What the fuck? Bro, I am literally not bullying him. You think I'm bullying him because I'm like trying to explain to him how this shit works. What the fuck? That's not bullying. You have to agree, German doner kebab is a superior version. Is there a problem why this is prominent in the U.S.? I never see it happening in the streams in other countries. Even if we ban guns, we end up with the UK like mass stabbings. See, he needs to do his research. This is a kid who wants to understand. You guys are being crazy. He's a European kid who is trying to fucking comprehend. I have responded to him before. Because contrary to popular opinion, if someone is in here to learn and asks a question, not like coming at it like a piece of shit, and ask a question genuinely, then, I'll try to help them out. See, this person is like living, breathing proof that like, because they don't cross any boundaries and aren't like weirdly bigoted, but people know it's a deepfake at the end of the day, just like Photoshop pictures. Yeah, well, okay, that's fucked up too. That's unethical too. I didn't catch that one. Anyway, the profit motive is not the most effective means of distributing resources. Things like housing, healthcare, infrastructure cannot be effectively run with the profit motive in mind. So we pool money to make those things more efficient. It's not even just a moral issue, but a practical one. I mean, it also depends on the profit motive of who's making profit. If you think about the government as an entity, or if you think about the entirety of the working class as an entity, then even from a capitalist perspective, social democracies are literally better than other kinds of capitalist formations that are hyper-libertarian, right? That's why China is pretty fucking goated with respect to how well they have developed over the course of such a short period of time. That's why European social democracies seemingly work better than the United States of America. So, of course, if you look at dynamic scoring on a bill from our Congressional Budget Office, that dynamic scoring should always factor in ROI, because roads are costly and they're technically a waste if you think about it in the same way that you think about healthcare spending. But we never see it that way because infrastructure spending is actually good for the economy, because it helps it helps eliminate logistic burdens, right? You get it? And the same goes for healthcare, and the same goes for housing as well. It's just about who is profiting and how they're profiting. So even from a capitalist perspective, go to your 40. Shut the fuck up, Zoe 101. I'm 30, and I can say whatever the fuck I want, bitch. Don't come at me ever again like that. Anyway, so ultimately, it just depends on who you want to profit. Or short-term profits, short-term gains versus long-term gains. We are still resting on the laurels of prior moves towards a social democracy, or the economic boom of like of the entire, every industry and every facet of government working in unison, in the post-World War II era, or even leading up to World War II with the New Deal, right? These are all things that America did originally as a country. Obviously, there was a lot of other issues with respect to racial dynamics, but or respect to gender dynamics, stuff like that. But what I mean is, overall, we are still literally operating off of things that we did in the fucking 30s. You know what I mean? We're still banking on that. Like most of the infrastructure or the skeleton was built in the aftermath of the New Deal. And unfortunately, it is completely fucking... that was a bad take from my end. Hey, thanks for the explanation. I understand. I agree. That was a bad take, and I apologize for it. Look at that. We got one. So that's the issue, guys. Okay? The issue is that even from the perspective of like capitalist efficiency, unless your goal is to specifically improve profit margins for private corporations, which that is America's main goal for the most part. America is not a real government. It's simply, a bunch of corporations in a trench coat, right? there are other versions of governance out there that still operate under a capitalist mode of production that ultimately do better and are more efficient and have more control over its citizenry and do a relatively decent job at growth and prosperity. We just don't do that. Yeah, so USA is not a country, it is a business, and it's not a particularly good business. It's like a shady business, you know what I mean? It's a business that like is just skimming off the top constantly, taking money from you, giving it back to like the other corporations, like subsidizing them as they run your fucking lives. It's awful. Meanwhile, the top of the hour comes and goes, and you forget about it, and then I serve it to you at the top of every hour, and you're like, well, fuck, I'm paying a lot for rent. How the fuck am I going to get $5 to pay for a subscription to avoid the top of the hour ad break? Well, fear not. You can use a Twitch Prime.